Hello YouTube. So you join me back in the garage again with my list of things to do in the garage. So in this video there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be quite hard to show you doing. A lot of it's going to be up underneath the car with more than one person, so there's not really very many viewing angles we can do, but I'm going to give you a rundown on the stuff that we've done and the stuff that we are getting done. I'm going to do a couple of time lapses, so yeah, let's get to it. So there is the now modified tank. What I've done, I've got a fuel pickup pipe onto that side, which is the far side. I've run some wires over here to a float switch, which comes out the side in a nice little plug. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to be running from there to a pump with a relay, and then pushing the fuel back into the return on the actual fuel filter, the fuel pump. So that should all work, get me fuel from that side, so when it's full or when there's fuel in there, it's going to start pumping fuel over. It doesn't matter if it runs constantly as long as there's fuel in there. So that's all good, that's going to now work. Just going to do some testing, go put it all together, make sure it pumps some fuel, and the next bit is to up into the car. So that is pretty much sorted. Okay, so up and under the car here, we've got the intercooler pipe now connected. So we've left it all the same here, had to chop a little bracket off there, make a little ghetto bracket here, might change it to a P-clamp because it looks a bit untidy, but it's all going to be covered up, and then put a bigger silicone elbow on here so that all reaches. Modified this bracket a little, this mount a little bit, extended a little bit, put some strengthening bars in it, so that's gonna actually work. It's strengthened, I mean it's extended out about 1 inch, so that's about all it needs. Yeah, other than that, we're ready to go up on the front here. I have discovered a bit of a problem with the drive shaft, but that I will discuss at a later date because it's actually a really easy problem to overcome. As you can see down there, we've got all skinned out, all ready for the drive shaft, the prop shaft, and then the diff down there, that's basically just ready to go. So let's start getting other stuff done that we can work on. Okay, so I just want to show you what I've managed to do here. So basically this is going to be the auxiliary pump. Fuel's coming in here, fuel's going out here, controlled with a little relay. So what this relay is going to do is when the float switch goes off, or when it's full, it's going to kick this thing in and it's going to pump petrol. So when there's fuel on one side of the tank, it's going to pump it to the other. So that's basically the rundown of what I'm going to do. Obviously I've got to get the tank up and in here, but I have got the pump all sealed on. I do need another couple of things until that's completely finished, but yeah, that's my plan. I'll show you the wiring upstairs now. Okay, so this is underneath the rear passenger seat, nice and dusty. Basically what I've done, there's a bung over here, just gone through the bung, and that's actually where I've mounted the auxiliary pump, sorry. You see the 2 bolts there. So that wire is going through, down into the back. Let's have a quick look, we can see where it's going. So we're going down there, and we're going to go into the fuse. I'm going to try and pick out a unused fuse, and maybe use a like a 20 amp fuse on there in the fuse box. And then that should be it run. So this is going to be a bit more fiddling. As you can see, it's a bit cramped in here, so I'm not going to be able to video much, but that's the idea and that's the gist of what we're going to be doing. So here we are again in the back of the Mondeo now. Just catching up on a couple of things again that I've done sneakily in here. So what I've done over here by the passenger side door, tapped into the CAN bus wires over there. That is now run down into where the petrol pump wires go. It's 2 CAN bus wires and a power and a ground. If you look over there in the fuse box, I don't know if you can see that, but I've hijacked a couple of fuses. So that's the diff wiring done. On the other side I showed you the other day under the seat. That is the pump wiring done. Now what I'm doing here, so what I've done is I'm making a 2-piece loom for the diff. So that's going out and through, and it's got a little connector on it. Here's the other end of the connector here. So basically I've got to make a little, like 30 centimeter small loom now, just to connect the diff to the rest of the loom. Basically why I'm doing that is just in case there's ever an issue, I can just unplug the diff loom from underneath. That's probably going to be, you know, just ease of use. Yeah, and that's about where we are now. So I've tested the CAN bus, there's continuity through everything. Pulling this thing apart, looking in here, from the factory, these things are just spliced and twisted together and wrapped in duct tape. So everybody was so worried about CAN bus systems. I really don't think this is going to be a problem if, at least from the factory, they're wrapping them up in freaking duct tape, not even electrical tape. So yeah, continuity all the way through, it's all working. So that's the diff done, well, the wiring side at least, and the pump done, the wiring side at least. Next bits I need still are, I need a little connector for the fuel pipe to go into the fuel pump, and then the tank can go in. This wiring was obviously all above the tank, so this is why I'm doing this now. But yeah, we are making some really good progress. Okay, so not so much I can actually even show you guys, but just a quick rundown of what I've got done now. So that's a complete diff loom done. Wired that up. I've also wired in an override switch, so if I do need to say, let's say something fails in the system and I need to just run the pump so to get fuel from one side to the other, I've just got a switch that I can run, or that I can press, and it'll do that. So that's the pump done. That is the diff loom done, all run, all nice. Yeah, waiting for now the fitting for the fuel pump and tank in, and then onto the last little bits, I think. So fingers crossed we get some our parts pretty soon. Got to mock some of those wherever it is. There it is. Got to rub off some of those. But yeah, onto the next bit. Going to give you a bit of a rundown now on the trials and tribulations, the good things that I've done, and the problems that I've hit along the way. Had a couple of days of digging and sorting out things. Some good progress, but also a couple of hang-ups. So here we go, let's have a look. First off, we've got some good news here. The new drive shaft came. So brand new drive shaft, fitted in, perfect, it's in. That's the whole passenger side now done. Side shaft in, whole hub complete. Need to put the brake on, need to put the caliper on, and then that's all done. Next bits of good news. Tank is in, heat shields are in. Let me see if we can get that all cleared that. Now, one thing I have noticed, this tank is a bit deep. Obviously the XC60 rides a lot higher, so it's a little bit far down from the actual chassis legs. It's probably about maybe half an inch or so. The heat shield is actually quite a bit longer. I'm going to just fold that up so it doesn't have such a sharp edge and match up with the rest of the heat shields that I've dropped off for the tunnel. But that's all in. The auxiliary pump is up here and it's all sorted out, so that's all working. So that's some good success with that now. Here's where we get to the first of the problems that I've found. So what I've got up here is the XC60 drive shaft. Now if you remember, this one was too long. Basically this end piece was too long. This bottom piece was the right length. Now, we look on here. This is thanks to a friend who has watched one of the YouTube videos and has commented back to me, basically giving me a heads up. Manual shafts have this worm gear. Now, the XC70 shaft, which is the right size, let's get the prop shaft out of the way, doesn't actually have one. So that indicates that that's an automatic shaft. Now, what I have seen, as you can see here, I've got the drive shafts apart. I have seen that the upper parts of the shaft and the bearings are exactly the same between the two. So what I'm going to be doing next, I'm going to try and split these shafts and use the top of the XC70 shaft onto the bottom of the XC60 shaft. Now, I've been banging and banging and banging on here. These things have got little circlips inside of there. It's a real pain. Probably going to take me about a whole day to freaking split these things and then get them back together. but we're making progress. I'm pretty much now at the point where once this drive shaft here is together, stick it in and put some fluid in the gearbox, and I can actually see if this thing starts. So we're a big step forward. Got loads of little things to do, like the fuel filler pipe is at the wrong angle completely, so we've chopped that off. We're going to have to weld it sideways, weld it the other way to get it to work. Lots and lots of little bits, but we're making some good progress. We still do need to lengthen this prop shaft, but I've had a couple of offers from the same guy who saw the YouTube video, so a big shout out to Sam with his Focus, and he is actually going to help me with some spare parts that he's got. So I think the prop shaft is not really going to be a huge issue. I think we've got that sorted. Basically, this little bastard is what's holding me up, this automatic shaft. So I mean, it would be great if I could find a manual shaft, but unfortunately they're just impossible to find. And instead of buying a new shaft for a couple of £100, I'm just going to try and use what I've got. So that shaft and the shaft, I'm going to try and split them and get them together. So that's pretty much where we are. We're other than that, we're kind of stuck. Can't really do much more. Pretty much ready to start this thing once the gearbox has got some oil in it. Yeah, just waiting for bits and pieces to come together. Okay guys, I just want to show you something. After a bunch of messing about with this drive shafts, I've actually seen something that I've never seen before on a drive shaft. It's probably common for people who work with these, but just thought I'd show you all, because the info is nowhere online. So basically, these drive shafts are like telescopic. They slide in and out. Now, there was a little lock ring holding these things in. Slide them out, and they just pull straight out like that out of these two sort of cups. It's really a strange design. See, those ball bearings fit against these splines inside here. So they used, it doesn't actually run on splines, it runs on the ball bearings. It's really weird design, but for me, it's absolutely perfect because it means I'm going to be able to quickly and easily swap these over. And there it is, the perfect shaft. So we've got the XC70 end with the XC60 front. Yeah, this is it. This is game on. It's time now to rebuild that end. Right guys, so that's where I'm going to wrap it up for this one. Unfortunately I've ran out of time, ran out of things I can do. Got all the drive shafts in, got the brakes completely on, new pads, new discs. What's left over now is the prop shaft and a couple of little bits that I'm going to tidy up in the next one. Don't want to get too much into it now. Obviously you're going to see stuff over the next ones, lots of little bits, lots of things that need to be tidied up before we can get it all together and get it going. But at the moment we've got the front all done. Can pretty much put gearbox oil in and actually start it, see if it's going to start. It's going to be a hell of a loud without an exhaust though, so we'll see how that goes. Other than that, thanks for bearing with me again, and see you in the next one.